Hello, Sacral Beauties. Welcome to the She Sacral podcast. If you're new, I'm your host, and I help women recover their bodies, minds, and energy from burnout. Today, we're going to focus on the poverty wound as part of our abundance wound series. This poverty wound is rooted into the belief that there will never be enough. If you've ever lived in constant anxiety about bills, or felt uneasy in your stomach when you swipe your card, or even caught yourself hoarding not just money, but food, clothes, and even time, you know what this wound feels like, where no matter how much you have, it never feels safe, stable, or satisfying. So let's talk about the origins, where the poverty wound comes from. The poverty wound usually has very deep roots, often going back to the earliest environments where we learned what safety meant to us. So you may have grown up with family lack. Many of us grew up with hearing phrases like, "We can't afford that, money doesn't grow on trees, don't ask for anything when we get in the store," or seeing our parents or caregivers stretch every dollar with worried plastered on their faces. Maybe you remember standing in the grocery line as a child watching your mom put items back because the bill was too high, or the lights getting cut off, or the water getting cut off. Those moments send powerful messages to the nervous system that there isn't enough and needing more is unsafe. We could also go through cultural conditioning. In many cultures, survival is glorified, but pleasure and the ease are shamed. You might have even been taught that hard work is noble, but resting and enjoying life and having fun is irresponsible. So that unspoken message becomes you are only valuable when you're exhausted, and wanting more is greedy. Even if you're making more money now or you've built a more stable life, your nervous system may still be coded with these survival codes. And it's like carrying a survival manual written years ago that your body still believes is true. And until it's rewritten or recoded, the poverty wound will keep whispering the same story, which there will never be enough. So let's talk about how this pattern can show up. The poverty wound doesn't just shape your bank account, right? It shapes your entire way of living. So you may notice hoarding as safety. You might hold on to money or resources or even expired food in the pantry because the thought of running out feels terrifying. The nervous system will whisper, "What if I need this later?" Some people even cling on to toxic jobs or draining relationships just for that same reason, because leaving feels like risking total loss. It's like, yeah, this may not be enough, but it's better than having zero. You could also have a fear of spending. So even when you technically can afford something, your body can go into panic at the thought of letting go of the money. So you can talk yourself out of nourishing types of purchases like therapy, a massage, healthier food, because spending feels unsafe. And the underlying fear is, if I spend now, I might not have enough for tomorrow. Living with a poverty wound feels like your body is always on guard, waking up thinking about bills, going to sleep worrying about unexpected expenses, and living in a constant cycle of what ifs. Even when money comes in, your nervous system cannot relax because it's already anticipating the next problem. And then we can also undermine the power of pleasure. Maybe you even feel guilty for enjoying what you already have, or a simple treat or a day off can trigger shame because that wound tells you you should be saving or working or preparing instead. And this can keep you locked in survival mode rather than expansion. And this can trigger a lot of envy towards others that do have that level of expansion, that do have an abundance of wealth. But you may notice that the pattern that you have with a poverty wound always stays the same: holding tightly, bracing for loss, and surviving today. But here's the painful part about this. This very pattern is what keeps you from receiving more. If your nervous system is always scanning for loss, then it cannot be fully open to abundance that is already here, or the abundance that's trying to come in for you. And if you're ready to start rewiring your nervous system around money in a gentle way, I created a free 7-day reset guide for you that walks you through simple daily practices to help your body begin to feel safe with having enough. You can download it in the link below. So let's talk about the cost of this poverty wound and how this can affect our nervous system, what our body goes through. Adrenaline can be spiking, where your body pumps stress hormones in your system as if you're always preparing to run or fight. You feel wired, restless, and unable to relax, even when things are fine. Shallow breathing is very common with this wound, where your breath becomes tight and restricted, sending the signal to your brain that you are unsafe. And this can reinforce that loop of stress and survival. Or tense muscles. Your shoulders stay tight, your jaw is always clenched, your stomach is in knots because your body is braced for impact, like it is waiting for something to go wrong. Or restless sleep. Our bodies have to be in a state of openness. Have you ever noticed that? When you are just relaxed and things are more open and you're at ease, that somehow things just are coming your way because energetically we are open to receiving. But even when abundance is present, the body can't register it as it being real or safe. So it dismisses it, it ignores it, it sabotages it, it burns it away until you're back to that familiar state of scarcity. So this is why healing the poverty wound is not just about thinking positive or manifesting harder or putting in more work. It's about rewiring your nervous system so your body can finally believe that it is safe and that you have enough and that you can receive. So let's talk a little bit about self-fulfilling prophecies that come up when we have a poverty wound. If your body believes that there will never be enough, then even when you do receive abundance, you can't hold on to it. So let's think of someone who suddenly gains wealth, right? We've all seen this. Maybe they've gone through a business boom or an inheritance, or maybe they even win the lottery. For a moment, they finally have enough, but somehow within a couple of years, that money is gone. Why? Because the nervous system has still been coded for scarcity. So spending becomes frantic, investments collapse, self-sabotage creeps in, and unconsciously they create the exact lack that we're trying to escape. But it doesn't stop there. This wound can also drive a lot of survival behaviors that create even bigger losses down the road. So when the body is convinced that there's not enough, it might push you into shortcuts, cheating the system or bending the rules to create fast relief, chasing fast gains instead of true sustainable growth. The sad part is that these behaviors don't create lasting safety. They actually increase instability, which is another abundance wound that we can experience. If you get caught, you can lose even more: your money, your reputation, opportunities, and trust. The very survival strategies designed to quote unquote protect you end up reinforcing this poverty wound, pulling you back into even deeper states of there not being enough. So the poverty wound doesn't just resist abundance, it burns it away until life feels familiar again. Scarcity, survival, and stress. And unless the nervous system learns that safety exists outside of lack, the cycle is going to continue to repeat itself. So let's talk about the trap of always chasing and never receiving. This is why people with a poverty wound can feel like they're stuck on a treadmill, running faster and faster, but never actually going anywhere. So you can take on more work, more side hustles, more responsibilities, convinced that the next check, the next raise, the next milestone will finally make you feel safe. Or you might constantly set bigger goals, but instead of celebrating those goals when you reach them, you move the bar higher, chasing the next fix of temporary security. And then even when the money comes in, there's an immediate shift to anxiety. How long will this last? What if something happens? What if it's not enough? The truth is, no amount of external achievement will ever feel like enough to you if your body is coded for not enough. And that's the trap. You chase more in hopes of finally relaxing, but the nervous system never lets you relax. So you burn through what you earn or sabotage the very abundance you've created and end up right back at square one. And this is why women with a poverty wound often burn out. They hustle endlessly, thinking they're chasing abundance, but really they're chasing safety. And because safety doesn't live in the body yet, the external things that you're doing is never giving you that satisfaction. So the cycle becomes chase, achieve, then fear, lose, and then it repeats. Until the nervous system is recalibrated, you'll always feel like you're running but never receiving. So how do we begin to heal this poverty wound? How do we begin to shift out of this? We start by finding pleasure in the present. And I know that can be challenging because our mind is fixated on the future, or it's thinking about the past and where we don't want to go back to. But if you can start to find pleasure in the present, slowing down and savoring what you already have, this can begin to allow the nervous system to feel safe again. And let yourself receive the small things fully, even if they're just compliments or gifts or support, without deflecting it or shrinking when you do receive it. So the more your body experiences safety in the moment, the more it can expand to hold future abundance. So we've covered a lot in this episode, and before I let you go, I want you to ask yourself, where do you live in the not enough zone, even when you technically have everything you need? So this just covers the poverty wound, but when it comes to money, there's a big range in how we can get stuck in so many different traps. So that's why we're going to dive into the next money wound, which is going to be the instability wound coming up next. So if you experienced a lot of chaos and shifts and changes out of nowhere, that's going to be the best episode for you. So be sure to follow and subscribe so you get notified when that episode is released. All right, well, I want you to thank yourself for showing up today, and thank you for tuning in to the She Sacral podcast.